Good afternoon, everyone. Before we start, may I ask if okay lang ba yung audio ko? Rinig ba ako?
Good
Audio ba
afternoon,
ako?
everyone.
Okay, thank you. Alright, so let's start around 2:05. Mag-wait lang tayo ng mga tao. Alright? Good afternoon sa mga kakarating. We will be starting at 2:05 p.m. Thank you. Okay, so it's 2:05 p.m. So I think we can start na. Okay. We already have. Okay. So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our first session on trigonometry. For today's session, we will be talking about unit circles. But before that, I would like to say na if you have any questions, then feel free to chat them on the comment section. Pero pag hindi ko man nasagot yung questions mo through YouTube, kasi baka natabunan ng mga comments, you could message me on Discord. My Discord username is can#3773, right? Again, if you have any questions, kindly comment it down on the comment section. Pero if hindi ko nakita yung comment mo or hindi ko nasagot yung question mo, you could message me on Discord. My Discord username is can#3773. Right. So before we start, since it's 2 p.m., kumain na ba kayo? Kumain na ba kayo ng lunch? It's tanghali rin, no? Kaya medyo mainit. So, kindly bear with it as well. Naiinitan din ako. Diyos ko. Ayan. So, ayun. Alright. Buti naman. Okay. So, before I start the actual lecture, let me introduce myself. Um, I am lecturer Nana, but you could call me Nana. Malamang. And I am a grade 12 student, and I am taking the STEM strand. And I will be teaching you mathematics, specifically in trigonometry, for the next 4 or 5 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. And I am an aspiring teacher, hopefully, and I am planning to take a Bachelor of Secondary Education in Mathematics. Pero, pwedeng hindi mangyari kasi practicality over passion nga naman. Diba? Pero yun. Sana. Anyways. Okay, let's start with the lesson. Okay. So, what is trigonometry nga ba? So, trigonometry derives from the Greek words trigonon and metron. And trigonon means triangle, and metron means measure. So, ibig sabihin, trigonometry is the measure of triangles. Right? So, thank you. All right. So, what do you call this? Our coverage for today's lesson. First, we would be talking about the linear and angular measure of arcs. So, malalaman natin yung mga measurements ng mga angles. And then, next one, we will be talking about the conversion of degree to radian and vice versa. Ibig sabihin nito, we are going to interchange lang yan. No? So, bale, ko-convert natin yung degree to radian and then radian to degree. Alright? Next, we will be talking about the arc length and the area of the sector. Gagawin natin dito, we are going to try and find the arc length and the area of the sector. Ano ba yung arc length? Ano ba yung area of the sector? Malalaman din natin yan mamaya. And lastly, we will be also talking about angles in standard position and coterminal angles. So ano nga ba yung angles in standard position? Ano nga ba yung coterminal angles? Paano ba natin makukuha yung coterminal angles? Alright? Okay. So, starting off with the unit circle, I would like you guys to tell me what you observe here with this illustration. What do you guys observe with the illustration we have here? So we have here, wait lang. Let me ask you guys, kita ba yung laser pointer sa screen nyo? Is it visible ba? Kita ba siya? Ayan. So ano napapansin nyo sa illustration na we have here? So we have here a circle. Okay, kita. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So we have here a circle. We have here the coordinates. Yung points ng circle, we have the coordinate 1, 0. We have 0, 1, negative 1, 0, 0, and negative 1. What do you guys notice here? Yes, my circle. Mm-hmm. Exactly. My 4 quadrants of the Cartesian plate. Tama. From Zaref Senpai, he said, they said the radius is equals to 1. Very good. Anything else? Okay. So, ang unit circle, may dalawang kondisyon ang unit circle. Bale, ang unit circle, it has its center at the origin and it has a radius of 1. Kita nyo? So, yung ating center here, let me take out my pen. Ating center here is at the origin. Origin, if di nyo alam, it's 0, 0. Nasa gitna siya. Alright? And yung ating radius is equals to 1. Alright? So, yan yung condition ng ating unit circle. That's the definition of a unit circle. A radius of 1 and our center at the origin. Gets? Understood? Any questions? If none, then we could proceed with the next slide. Okay, I'm assuming wala ng questions. All right. Next slide. So now we will be talking about angle measurements. All right. So, magtataka ba kayo kung paano natin na-form yung angles? Diba? So let's look at this. So angles are formed by rotating a ray about its endpoint. Para mas maintindihan natin ng lubos to, we will be looking at this first illustration over here. Alright, kita nyo yan. So we have here what we call an initial side. This is our ray MN. Dito tayo nagsisimula. And then, yung ray natin, gumalaw siya, nag-rotate siya, and then dito siya nag-end, and this is what you call our terminal side. Initial side, dun tayo nagsimula. Kung saan tayo nag-end, that is what you call a terminal side. Gets? Right. So now, let's try looking at this second example. So we have here our initial side. We have here our initial side. And then, wait lang, kita ba yung pointer? Oh, I don't think so. Wait lang. Ayan. Ayan. Sorry about that. All right. So we have here our initial side, once again. And then, gumalaw yung ray natin, papunta dito, and nag-end siya dito. Ibig sabihin, that is what we call our terminal side. All right? Right. So kung mapapansin nyo, there is a difference between these two illustrations, di ba? Our first illustration, it is rotating counterclockwise, di ba? Right. And then, as we can see here, sa second illustration natin, na it's moving, it's rotating clockwise. Di ba? So when it's moving counterclockwise, when our ray rotates counterclockwise, it is a positive angle. And in contrast sa ating second illustration here, na yung ray niya, it's rotating clockwise, it is a negative angle. Gets? Understood? Any questions regarding this? If none, let's continue. If ever na nag-next slide ako and hindi ko pa nakita yung questions nyo or hindi nyo pa na-type yung questions nyo, continue to type it kasi may delay yung YouTube. Like for around 10, 20 seconds. Kaya feel free to do so. Right? Okay. Next slide. Okay. So now, para mas these types of angles na ituturo ko sa inyo ngayon, we will be using this for halos the rest of our session. So please do remember this type of angle. Yung sinasabi kong angle is what we call angles in standard position. So angles in standard position have its vertex at the origin and having the initial side lying on the positive axis. So ang ating main words natin dito, vertex at the origin and the initial side on the positive x-axis. Yan yung titignan natin ngayon. Para mas ma-imagine natin, we can use this illustration. Alright. So makikita natin, our first condition sa yung pagiging standard position ng isang angle is that the vertex, ito yung ating vertex, ay nasa origin or nasa 0, 0, right? And the second condition of angles in standard position is that yung initial side niya, remember, ang initial side natin ay andito, it's always lying on the positive x-axis. Pag hindi yan naglalay sa positive x-axis, hindi siya standard position. Alright? So, lagi siyang magsisimula dito sa positive x-axis. Hindi siya pwede dito, hindi siya pwede dito, hindi siya pwede dito. Alright? So let's look at this second illustration. So we see here, we have here our initial side. Yan, kita natin yan. And our vertex ay nasa origin still. These examples are angles in standard position. Gets? Can we move on to the next slide? Any questions? None so far. Okay. If you have questions, just type it. Kahit we're forward to the discussion. Like what I've said earlier, delay on YouTube. Okay. Next. What happened? Wait lang. Oh my gosh, wait lang. Sorry. My PowerPoint froze for a while. Ayun. All right. Next. So now, we're going to discuss kung ano yung mga ginagamit nating units sa ating angle measurements. Right. First, we have what we call, oh, what happened? Wait lang. It's freezing ulit. I'm so sorry. Wait lang. One second. And ayan. All right. So first, we have revolution. So revolution is the measure of an angle formed when the initial side rotates all the way around its vertex until it reaches its initial position. Okay. Para mas ma-visualize natin to, pasensya na at magdo-drawing ako. Ayan. Okay. Okay. Ayan. So we have here, ang sabi dito sa revolution, nagpo-form siya. Remember, gagamitin natin dito ang angles in standard position. We're going to use angles in standard position for the rest of the session. So, magsisimula tayo dito sa ating initial side. Remember? And then, ito ang ating vertex. So, dito tayo magsisimula. Iikot tayo all the way around hanggang maabot niya yung initial position siya. Kung saan siya nag-start. Gets? So, one circle, yung isang rotation na yan, that is what you call a revolution. That is equals to one revolution. Gets? Alright. And, kung mapapansin nyo rin, if you're familiar with your degrees, na alam nyo na yung 360 is also isang ikot. Right? So this would become 360 degrees. One revolution is equals to 360 degrees. Right? And lastly, we have radians. Or you could say it as rad. Or abbreviation rather. Ayan. So one revolution is equals to 360 degrees, right? Pero how about radians? It is equals to 2 pi. Bakit? We'll talk about that later. Makikita natin yan sa next slide. Alright? And, ang pi is equals to 180 degrees and then equals to 0.5 revolutions. Bakit? Paano natin ito nakuha? We get that by dividing it by 2. Gets? Shall we move on? Para mas malaman natin kung bakit natin nakuha yung radian? Paano natin nakuha yung 2 pi? How did that happen? Diba? Tataka ka rin. Ayan. Next slide. Okay. So, we have here, remember, kanina, we have 180 degrees of is equals to pi rad. Paano natin yan nakuha? 360 degrees is equals to 2 pi rad. Am I right? And, pag kinonvert natin to, alright, So 1 degrees is equals to pi over 180 rad. Paano natin yan nakuha? We divided both sides by 180. Right? Hindi pala ako naka-laser point. I am very sorry. Ayan. And then, next, we have here 1 rad is equals to 180 degrees divided by pi. Paano natin yan nakuha? We divided pi both sides. So, bakit natin to kailangan? Para ma-convert natin yung radians to degrees and vice versa. Later, we'll be tackling that and we will be giving examples. And we'll try to solve them, all right? So, 1 radian or 1 rad abbreviation is the measure of the central angle that intercepts an arc whose length is equals to the radius of the circle. Wordy. Pero tignan natin. Let's look at this example over here. Eyes here. Lang. It's a GIF, kaya hindi ko siya makontrol. Ayan. So this is our radius. 1 revolution. Radius. And then, yung intercepted arc natin, it's equal to the radius of the circle, yung length ng radius. And that would form a central angle, and that is equals to 1 rad. And then 2 rad, and then 3 rad. Pero tignan nyo, meron ditong portion, may fraction na hindi siya pantay, di ba? So, 1.4, no, rather, 0.14 will fill that hole. Kaya siya naging 3, 2, 1 pi pala, sorry. Kaya siya naging pi. Kasi remember, pi is equals to 3.14 blah, 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 blah. Yun. And since yung kalahati, yung semicircle natin is pi, then we could assume and we could conclude na yung buong circle is 2 pi rad. Gets? Any questions? Do I need to clarify this again? No questions? Right. Next slide. Sige. Now, okay, gets. Thank you. Okay. Now, we will try and convert different angle measurements. Right. So let's start here first. Find the equivalent degree measure of 1 over 12 rad. Remember, in word problems, what we need to do first is find the given. Ano yung given natin? We have here 1 over 12 rad, and we have degree. Let me get my pen. So, we have here 1 over 12 rad, rather, we have degree. Ano yung hinahanap natin? Degree. So, most likely, we are going to convert rad to degrees. Right? Okay. So, what we need to do is we are going to multiply 1 over 12 rad by 180 degrees over pi. Bakit? Okay. I'll give you guys, mas madali siyang alalahanin. So, since you're finding degree, yung numerator, yun yung 180 degrees. Pero, pag hahanapin mo yung radians, yung pi yung nasa numerator. Diba? Pero nagtataka kayo, paano natin to nakuha? Remember na pi rad is equals to 180 degrees. Ang ginawa lang natin, dinivide lang natin both sides para makuha natin yung 1 rad. And that would be equal to 180 degrees over pi. Diyan natin nakuha yung 180 degrees over pi. Gets? Okay. So now, we are going to try and solve this problem. Okay. So, 1 over 12 rad multiplied by 180 degrees over pi. What you could do is you could cancel this, and this would become 15. If I'm not mistaken, this would be 15, and this would be 1, if you divide that right. And yes, and that would be 15, and then 1 multiplied by pi is pi, And that will be your final answer, 4.77. Pero, remember, in CETs, bawal tayo mag-calculator. So, most likely, yung final answer natin would be 15 over pi. Gets? Naintindihan ba? Okay. 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 All right. So let's go with our second example. We have here, how many degrees is 1 and 2/5 of a complete revolution? So let's look at the given ulit. So we have here 1 and 2/5. Ano to? That is your revolution. And ano yung hinahanap natin? That is degrees. So what we're trying to do here is we're going to convert revolution to degrees. Paano yun? Remember na yung 1 revolution is equals to 360 degrees. So what are you gonna do? You're just going to multiply this revolution by 360 degrees. Like this. O, diba? Ang galing. So, now we have here 1 and 2/5 revolution multiplied by 360 degrees divided by 1 rev. Pero wait, tataka kayo na, saan nanggaling yung 1 rev? Remember, my secret 1, ang whole numbers. Pero yung rev, this is for us to cancel the unit. Gets? Alright. So now, another thing. So we took this out. Tinake out na natin yung unit na rev. Now, we have to multiply it. Excuse me. Bloated ako. Pasensya na. Okay. Alright. So, what we need to do is we have to convert this proper whole mixed fraction into an improper fraction. Nag-loading ako sandali. Ayan. So, remember, when converting mixed fractions to improper fractions, we have to multiply the denominator by the whole number. 5 times 1 is equals to 1. And then we have 2 plus add the product by the numerator. 5 plus 2 is equals to 7. So, our improper fraction would be 7 over 5. We have to retain the denominator. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So, with that, we could say na 7 over 5 is multiplied by 360. Right? And then, you guys can try. We could multiply this. 7 over 5 multiplied by 360 degrees. 7 over 5 multiplied by 360 in degrees. You could cancel the 360, the 5, so that you could simplify it and make it easier for you to multiply. Okay. 7 over 5 multiplied by 360 degrees will be equals to 504 degrees. Gets? Any clarifications, questions? Since nandito na tayo sa problem-solving part, it might be confusing. If gusto nyong ipa-explain ulit sa akin, then go. Please do tell me para mas maintindihan natin lahat. Alright? If there's no more questions rather, I think we can go to the next slide. I think none na. Okay, then go to the next slide. Right. So, now, let's look at this table. I want you guys, I am encouraging you to memorize these conversions. Actually, kahit hindi na yung revolutions, kahit yung degree and radians na lang. Kasi this is, usually ito yung lumalabas. The reason why you need to memorize this is so that mas madali yung yung, what do you call this? Yung pag-convert mo, pag-solution mo. Kasi, in later trigonometry, and maybe with calculus, you will be using this. Mas mahaba na yung calculations for calculus and other calculations. So I'm encouraging everyone to memorize this. Alright? Pero if ever na hindi nyo ma-memorize to, you could convert it. Alright? So, ulitin natin, from degrees to radians, para ma-convert natin yung degrees to radians, we have to multiply the number of degrees by pi over 180. Remember, yung trick dito, yung imumultiply na to, kung ano yung hinahanap mo, so for example, radians, yun yung nasa numerator. Right? Tignan natin yung radians to degrees. So, para mahanap natin, para ma-convert natin yung radians to degrees, all we have to do is to multiply the number of radians by 180 degrees over pi. Kita nyo yun? Yung numerator na to is 180 degrees. Nasa degrees siya. It will be much easier for you to recall. Right? So now, I want you guys to try this. I will be giving you a few minutes, maybe 2 to 3 minutes. I think that would be possible. All right. So I want you guys to convert this radian to degrees, and you need to put it back to radians. Although nandito na yung sagot, I want you guys to see kung paano ba masosolve. All right? So I will be giving you 2 minutes. I'll be setting up a timer. And yeah, I'll be setting a timer. Hold up. Okay. So 2 minutes starts now. Sa mga bagong dating or hindi nakarinig since lag, ayun, I'm giving time for you guys to solve for 3 pi over 2. You're going to convert that to degrees and you're going to bring it back to radians. All right? So you have 40 seconds left. All right. So 2 minutes is up. Na-try nyo ba na i-solve? Madali lang siya, di ba? Alright, so let's try it together. Confirm natin kung tama ba yung mga solutions nyo. Okay, so let's start. So, since we are converting radians to degrees, wait lang. Sorry, ang bloated ko talaga yun. Okay, so we have here 3 pi over 2. multiplied by 180 degrees over pi. Bakit? This is radians. And remember, when you're converting radians to degrees, you are multiplying the number of radians by 180 degrees over pi. Okay. So, what you just need to do para mas madali ang buhay natin, we could cancel this, we could cancel this, and this would be equal to 90 degrees. This would be equal to 1. And then 3 times 90, that would be equals to 270 degrees. Nakuha ba? Nakuha niyo ba yung sagot? Madali lang siya, di ba? Alright. If you don't get the solution, how do we get it? You could tell me. You could chat here on the YouTube, on the comment section. Alright? Or if nahihiya man kayo, you could message me on Discord. My Discord is can#3773. Alright? So now, we're going to try and convert 270 degrees back to 3 pi over 2. Paano natin yun gagawin? We are going to multiply the number of degrees by pi over 180 degrees. Alright? And then when you multiply that, makakancel natin to. We could also cancel the unit. This would become 3 and this would become 2. And our final answer is 3 pi over 2 kasi minultiply mo yung 3 by pi and then 1 times 2 is equals to 3 pi over 2. Good job. Good job. Nakuha ba? Nakuha ba nating lahat? Alright. Okay. Let's move on. So, next one. Okay. So, medyo what do you call this? Medyo nakakahilo to, no? When you're going to memorize this. Am I right? So, this unit circle will make it easier for you to visualize, no? Kung nasan yung 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 60 degrees, makikita mo na it's ascending, 'di ba? Mas na-imagine mo siya. Hindi siya parang mas hindi gruesome pag i-memorize mo na, no? And since it's a lot of numbers, no? It's a lot of numbers, especially with the radians. Medyo nakakalito 'yan. So, I have a technique for you guys para mas madali siyang alalahanin. Okay. Let's look at this. So we have here subtract, add, and prime. First, let's look at our quadrant 1. Alala nyo, this is our quadrant 1. Okay, let's write that. This is our quadrant 1. Am I right? All you have to do is just memorize your quadrant 1 and you're done. Pag na-memorize mo yung quadrant 1, this one, pi over 6, pi over 4, pi over 3, pi over 2, you're solved. Bakit? Let's look at the other quadrants. Punta tayo sa quadrant 2. Titignan natin. Itong 5 pi over 6. You only have to subtract pi over 6. You have to subtract your denominator by 1. And yung nakuha mo, you would be putting that on your numerator. Kita nyo yun? 6 minus 1 is equals to 5. Ilalagay mo siya sa numerator, that's 5 pi over 6. Tignan natin yung other radians. Tignan natin dito, sa 4. 4 minus 1, 3. Lalagay natin sa numerator. That would be 3 pi over 4. Gets? Okay. For quadrant 3, instead of subtracting, mag-a-add tayo. Look at this. Titignan natin yung denominator ulit. That would be 6. 6 plus 1, 7. You would put that on your numerator. That would be 7 pi over 6. Diba? It's not so hard when you know how to memorize this. So let's look at this. Let's look at our last quadrant. Quadrant 4. Yung prime naman, you would see here na these are all prime numbers. 3, 5, 7, 11. Right? So, ang alalahanin nyo lang, you're going to memorize your first quadrant, you're going to subtract the second quadrant, you're going to add on the third quadrant, and you're going to try and memorize the prime numbers. Actually, four numbers lang ng prime eh. Yeah. Madali lang siya. So, gets? Should I explain it again? May questions ba? Clarifications? Actually, I'm a really bad memorize. Hindi ako magaling mag-memorize. Pero, nung nalaman ko tong technique na to, oh my God, na ano ako. It helped me a lot. Akala ko hindi ako papasa ng pre-cal nun. Pero yun. Any clarifications, questions, naintindihan ba? None so far? None so far? Okay. Wait lang. Okay. So I think kailangan mo natin ng break kasi this can be a little bit overwhelming, no? Medyo overwhelming tong lesson na to. Kaya let's have a 5-minute break. Let's come back at 2:47. Okay? So that we could rest our minds for a bit. Medyo gruesome tong na to, lesson. Okay? 2:47. See you later. Okay, it's 2:47. So, ayan, nakapag-water break na kayo. Did you get a snack? Nag-refresh na ba ng minds nyo? Okay, since medyo ano na tayo, no? Medyo mahaba na tayo. Should we recall kung ano yung na-discuss natin so far? So far, we've discussed the angle measurements, kung paano na-form yung angles. Wait, naririnig ba ako? Am I unmuted already? Oh, I'm unmuted. Okay. Medyo kinabahan ako. Okay. So we've talked about the how do we form angles. We also talked about angles in standard position. Remember, angles in standard position, yung initial side niya nasa positive x-axis and yung vertex niya nasa origin or nasa coordinates na 0, 0. We've also talked about the different units of angle measurements. We've talked about the revolution, we've talked about the degree, and we've talked about the radian revolution. One revolution is equals to 360 degrees, and 360 degrees is equals to 2 pi radian. We've also talked about how do we convert degree measures like radians to degrees, degrees to radians, degrees to revolutions, and such. We've also talked about different conversions. Am I right? We've also talked about different conversions, um, simple angles para I mean, no. We've also talked about simple conversions para kasi it's very useful when it comes to trigonometry. And now, let us move on with our next part of our lesson. We will be talking about coterminal angles. This is quite medyo mahirap siya. I mean, it's easy, pero at first, it would be quite confusing. So please stay with me. Okay. So, coterminal angles are angles in standard position. Remember, ano yung angles in standard position? Angles in standard position has its initial side at the positive x-axis and has its vertex on the origin. Alright? And it has the same terminal side. So, ano yung itsura nun? This would look like this. Okay? So we have here angle alpha, we have here angle theta, and we have here angle beta. Okay? Kita natin dito, we have our angle beta, we have here our initial side, we have here our terminal side, and then si angle theta, umiikot siya, starting from the initial side, umikot siya. Oh, kita ba yung cursor? Wait lang. Kita ba yung cursor? Okay, good. I thought hindi. Let me just use this instead. Okay, so, si angle theta ay nag-start siya here sa initial position natin. Is it initial side rather? And ayan, iikot siya papunta sa terminal side. Same thing goes here with angle beta. Here, start siya sa initial side, then it will ikot ang konyo, ikot, and then mag-end siya sa terminal side. Gets? So these angles are all coterminal angles. Self-explanatory, no? Coterminal. Magkaparehas sila ng terminal sides. Gets? Diba? Okay. So, let's try and find these values. So we have here, A is given. A is equals to 50 degrees. Pumiyok ako, bibinata ako. Oh my gosh. Ayan. Ayan, 50 degrees. We have here, angle alpha is equals to 50 degrees. So, paano natin makukuha yung angle theta? Does anyone know? Does anyone have an idea paano natin makukuha yung angle theta? Okay, here. Let me tell you this. Paano natin makukuha yung isang terminal angle? Okay. Look here. So, para makuha natin yung terminal angle, kailangan nating umikot ng isang circle. 'Di ba? Diba? Kailangan nating umikot ng isang circle. And what is one circle? That is 360 degrees. Correct. Correct, Isabel. That's 360 degrees minus 50 degrees. Oh, that is my bad. Oh, tama. Correct. Oh my gosh, okay. Mali pala yung sinabi ko. Pero first, sure. Let's do theta first. Yan, kasi it's a negative, no? That's my bad. So, ayan. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Let me do this again. Beta pala muna. Kasi remember, oh my god, ang gulo, wait lang. Okay, restart. We have here, angle alpha, 50 degrees. Tapos si angle beta natin, umikot ng isang circle. Eh ano yung isang revolution, isang circle? What's that equal to in degrees? 360 degrees. So what we will do is we will add 360 degrees to 50 degrees na alpha so that we could get beta. And what is 50 degrees plus 360 degrees? That would be equal to 410. That is your angle beta. 410. Gets? Ulit. Kasi naguluhan ako kanina. Kasi I thought theta was first sa PowerPoint. My bad. Ulit. Start siya dito. Oh, and remember, when your angle in standard position is moving counterclockwise, that is positive. Ulitin natin. Pag counterclockwise, it is positive. And that is what is happening with our angle beta. It is going counterclockwise. Okay? Meaning, you have to add 360 degrees. Kasi nga, positive nga siya, di ba? And it's going one circle. And one circle is 360 degrees. Kaya tayo nag-add ng 360 degrees kasi nagdagdag tayo ng isang bilog. We did a full circle. Gets? Gets ba dito? My bad kanina sa explanation kanina. Nalito ako. Gets ba to? Okay, let's try this as well. Try naman nating i-solve yung angle theta. Okay, so let's get alpha is equals to 50 degrees. Ano naman gagawin natin sa angle theta? Remember, kita nyo, yung ating alpha is going clockwise. And what's clockwise? That's a negative. Right? Diba? It's going negative. So what we will do here is we are going to subtract 50 by 360 degrees. Diba? Na-imagine nyo ba? Nakikita nyo na ba? And what is 50 minus 360 degrees? That is negative 310 degrees. And that is the value of your angle theta. Oh, pasensya na. Ang pangit ng sulat ko. Ayan. Negative 310 degrees. Gets? Gets ba? Or do I need to explain it again? Gets? Questions, clarification? If hindi gets, then please do tell me. I will explain it again. Gets? Okay. Alright. Sige. So, reminder, two angles are coterminal if and only if their degree differ by 360. Where the constant is an integer. Pansin nyo, these three angles, 50 degrees, 410 degrees, and negative 310 are all coterminal degrees. Angles pala rather. Why? They have the same terminal side. Dito sila nag-end. Alpha ended here. Theta ended here. And beta ended here. Diba? And yung degree measures nila, it's differing by 360 degrees. Ba? Pansin nyo? Kasi nag-add tayo ng 360 degrees. This is 410, meaning these are coterminal. Dito, nag-subtract tayo ng 360 degrees. This is negative 310. That is coterminal. Gets? Sa ano naman, this also applies with radians. Pero ang difference lang with radians, of course, it's 2 pi. Okay? Okay. Now, oh my gosh, hindi ko na-cover up. Hindi ko na-sama sa animation. Oh well, andyan na siya. Ay! Okay. Oh my God, so sorry. Ayan. So we have here our graph. Graph? Tama. Our illustration. So, what we're going to do, andun na yung sagot sa ano. Okay, that's okay. So, what we're trying to find now here is what are the angles described in the figure that is coterminal with pi over 4. Actually, andito na yung sagot. Pero kunwari wala yung sagot. Okay? Okay. Okay. So, what we need to do, get pi over 4. And then, let's just call this angle, oh my gosh, ayan. Let's call this angle A. And then let's call the green one angle B. Okay. So we have, let's try first. Kunin natin yung angle B. Baliktad. Sige, angle B muna. So, what we need to do is we have to add pi over 4. With 2 pi. Gets? Kasi kanina, di ba, yung ginawa natin, we added 360 degrees. Pero now, we are adding 2 pi kasi radians yung given natin ngayon. Right? Right. So, pi over 4 plus 2 pi, how do we add fractions again? We multiply the denominators. 4 times 1 is equals to 4. And then we have to do cross multiplication. This is 1. And this would be 8 pi. And that would be equal to pi plus 1, 8 pi plus 8 pi divided by 4. That is a tongue twister. And then when you add that, that would be equals to 9 pi over 4. Bale, this pi over 4 and 9 pi over 4 are coterminal with each other. Let's try another one. Let's try this. Angle A. Let's try angle A. Let's get our given, pi over 4. Pero now, since nakikita natin, it's going clockwise. Alalahanan natin, when an angle goes clockwise, that is a negative angle. So, what we have to do is we have to subtract pi over 4 with 2 pi. How do we subtract fractions again? We multiply 4 times 1, the denominators, we multiply the denominators, that would become 4. We cross multiply, pi over pi times 2 pi is equals to 2 pi? 8? Ay, wait, nalito ako, B. Wait lang, pasensya na. Oh my gosh, okay. Again, pi times 1, kasi nga may 1 dito, that is equals to pi, and then 4 times 2 pi is equals to 8 pi, and then we subtract pi minus 8 pi, that would become 7 pi, and then we retain the denominator, that would be equal to negative 7 pi over 4. Gets? Gets ba? Any clarifications, questions? Wala? So, we could conclude na pi over 4, 9 pi over 4, and negative 7 pi over 4 are all coterminal angles. Gets? Okay. Pro gates. Gates. Okay. Now, let's try this. What I'm looking for here is the smallest positive angle. Ayan. So, tignan natin dito. Yung interval ng smallest positive angle, it's 0. Yung angle dapat, it needs to be between 0 degrees and 360 degrees. Pero if it's in radians, it must be in between 0 and 2 pi. Paano yon? Let's try this first example. So, 790 degrees. Ang hinahanap natin, smallest positive angle. Within ba siya sa ating interval na 0 degrees and 360 degrees? Hindi. So what we need to do is we are going to subtract 719 degrees by negative 360. All right? And that would be equal to 430 degrees. All right. Pero, titignan ulit natin. Oh my gosh, hindi ako naka-pointer. I'm so sorry. Titignan ulit natin yung smallest positive angle. All right? Within ba yung range ng smallest positive angle ang 430 degrees? Hindi. So what we need to do is we need to subtract it again by 360 degrees. And what do we get? We get 70 degrees. Is that within the range? The interval of the smallest positive angle? Yes. And that is your final answer. That is your smallest positive angle. Okay? What we're trying to do now is we're finding the smallest positive angle, and we got the smallest positive angle by subtracting 360 degrees hanggang sa maabot natin yung smallest positive angle. Okay? These are all coterminal. 790 degrees, 430 degrees, and 70 degrees. Kasi nga, they differ by 360 degrees. What we're trying to find here now is what is the smallest positive angle of 790 degrees. And smallest positive angle is within, choke ako, wait lang. Na-choke ako. Is within 0 degrees up until 360 degrees. And we got that. That's 70 degrees. Let's try this one. We have here negative 640 degrees. Since negative siya, and we need to go to the smallest positive angle. So what do we need to do? We have to add 360 degrees. Alright? Para maabot natin tong interval na to. Okay? So, when you add 360 degrees, that would become negative 280 degrees. Pero wala pa rin siya sa ating interval. What do we need to do? Add another 360 degrees. And what would be the final answer? That would become 80 degrees. Is that the smallest positive angle? Yes, it is. Kasi it's within our interval. Right. Okay. Good job. Okay, next one. Let's try this. Let's try radians. Okay. So, since we need to get the smallest positive angle of 20 pi over 3, wala siya sa interval natin. What do? We subtract this term by negative 2 pi. Alright? And when we subtract that, remember when you're subtracting fractions, we multiply 3 times 1, we multiply the denominator, this would become 3, and then cross multiplication, 20 pi times 1, that would become 20 pi, and then when you multiply 3 times 2 pi, that would become 6 pi. You subtract 20 pi minus 6 pi, that would be equals to 14 pi, and then you retain the denominator. This would be your coterminal angle, pero hindi pa siya smallest positive angle. What we're trying to find here is the smallest positive angle. So what do? We minus 2 pi again. We subtract it again. So we do the same thing again. We subtract. So this would become, we multiply the denominator, it would become 3. We do cross multiplication, 14 pi times 1, that is 14 pi. And then 3 times 2 pi, that will become 6 pi. Wait lang yung laser pointer, my bad. So 14 pi minus 6 pi, that will become 8 pi, and then you retain the denominator. Your answer would be 8 pi over 3. Pero wala pa rin siya sa ating interval. Hindi pa siya within 0 and 2 pi. So what we need to do is we need to subtract ulit. So we subtract 8 pi over 3 by 2 pi. How do we do that? Again, we multiply our denominator. 3 times 1. 3 times 1. And then we cross multiply. 8 pi times 1, that is 8 pi. And then 3 times 2 pi, that is 6 pi. You solve it, 8 pi minus 6 pi, that is equals to 2 pi. And you retain the denominator, that would be 2 pi over 3. And that is your smallest positive angle. Gets? Gets ba? Any clarifications, questions? Grabe. Okay. Any clarifications? Na-gets naman? Do I have to do this again? It's okay if ever na hindi naintindihan. Okay, that's good. Okay, thank you. Okay, next slide. Now, what we're gonna do here next is we are going to try and find the arc length. So let's look at this illustration over here. Ang arc length natin here is this one. Itong arc na to, that's our arc length. This is our central angle. Tapos yung arc ng central angle, that's our arc length. Gets? Okay. So, paano ba natin makukuha yung formula ng ating arc length? Okay, let's look at this. Yung central angle natin, it's a portion of our circle. Am I right? And our arc length is a portion or a fraction of our circle. Diba? And that is proportional. Tignan natin to. Yung circumference natin, it's proportional to 2 pi. Am I right? And yung arc length, or S, you could say that it's S, is proportional to our central angle. Because it's a fraction. Both of them are a fraction. They're a fraction of the circle. They're a portion of a circle. Yung circumference and the 2 pi, they are a whole of a circle. Diba? And so, alalahanan nyo, what's the formula para mahanap natin yung circumference ng circle? That is 2 pi r. So, sinubstitute natin yung circumference with 2 pi r. So now, it's 2 pi r divided by arc length is equals to 2 pi over the central angle. Eh, yung hinahanap natin is the formula for arc length. So, it would be equals to 7. S is equals to r theta, where r is the radius and the theta is a central angle in radians. Gets? Okay, let's try and do this example. Find the length of the arc if the circle has a radius of 7 centimeters and the following central angles. Our first central angle is pi over 2. So what do we need to do in order for us to find the arc length of the circle? We have here our radius. Given na sa atin yung radius. Yung central angle natin is pi over 2. And what do we need to do? What do we need to do? We multiply the radius and the central angle. Gets? Diba madali lang siya kasi multiply mo lang siya. And so, 7 times pi over 2 is equals to 7 pi over 2. Ganun lang. Diba madali lang? Let's try this another example. Or yan, this is the approximate. Pero remember, in CETs, you don't use calculators. Therefore, usually, ito ang final answer natin. Okay? Next. Let's try this one. 120 degrees. Pero wait. Diba? Ang sabi dito, the central angle must be in radians. Pero this is degrees. What do you have to do? You convert 120 degrees to radians. Dun nag-a-apply yung na-learn natin kanina. How do we convert 120 degrees to radians? We multiply it by pi over 180. Remember, yung numerator, yung hinahanap natin. What are we finding for? Radians. Diba? So, we multiply that and that will be equal to 2 pi over 3. So now, we have our radius. We also have our central angle. All we need to do now is multiply the radius with the central angle. And 7 times 2 pi over 3 is equals to 14 pi over 3, and that is your final answers. Gets? Gets ba? Understood? Questions, clarifications? None? Okay. Ang delay ng YouTube sobra, no? Okay. So, I think this is the last slide. Matatapos na tayo. Okay. Where na tayo? Okay. Ayan. So now, natakal na natin yung arc length. We're now going to tackle the area of the sector. Ano yung area of the sector? So, cut this example. Illustration rather. Oh, before that, what is an area of the sector? An area of a sector is a portion of the interior of a circle bounded by the initial and terminal sides of a central angle and its intercepted arc. Let's look at this. As we see here, this is our circle. Oh, wait lang, wala yung laser pointer. Ako lang ba? Or lagi akong nabibloat sa tubig? Anyways. So, etong blue, that is our area of a sector. Yan yung sector na sinasabi natin. Okay? And what we're trying to find here sa area of the sector, area nga, yung buong blue na yan. Hindi lang yung sides na to, the whole area. That's what we're trying to find. Okay? So, ayun nga. So, the area, or you could say it as A, as a unit of a sector, is proportional to the angle subtended at the center of the circle. Tingnan nyo to. The area of a circle is proportional to the angle subtended at the center of the circle. Ito yun. Proportional siya dito. Kagaya nung sa arc length kanina. Kasi it's a portion, di ba? It's a portion of a circle. Therefore, it's proportional. Parehas silang proportion or fraction ng circle. Okay? So, we can say na the area of the circle, the area of a sector is divided by the area of the circle. And that is equals to the central angle divided by 2 pi. Kasi nga, the area of the sector is proportional to the central angle. And the area of the circle is proportional to 2 pi. Yun yung buo, di ba? Am I right? Okay. So, yung area of the sector, we say that as A. And then, 120 po ba ang central angle? The central angle can be any angle. Basta, ang central angle, yung vertex niya nasa gitna. Okay? Alright. Continuing. So, area of the sector, pwede natin sa unit na A, i-derive natin sa A. And then, the area of the circle, ano yung formula sa area ng circle? That is pi r squared. And then, copy theta divided by 2 pi. And what we're looking for is area of the circle. So that would be equals to theta times pi r squared divided by 2 pi. Or you could say that this is, kasi ka-cancel mo yung pi, and then this would be equals to, A is equals to 1/2 central angle, theta radius squared. Gets? So this would be the formula that we would be using to find the area of the sector. Gets ba? And the same thing with the arc length. The radius, the r is the radius, and the theta is your central angle in radians ulit. Okay? So now let's try and do some examples. What happened? Ayun. Okay, so let's try and find the area of the sector if the circle has a radius of 7 centimeters with a central angle of pi over 2. Same example lang para mas maintindihan natin. Same example as the arc length. So, now let's try and substitute, let's try and solve this. So what is our given? So our given here is we have radius 7 centimeters and we have our central angle is pi over 2. Right? So now we are going to try, kasi since we already have everything needed para mas-substitute natin, we just need to substitute the terms, the values rather. So, mangyayari, 1/2 multiplied by pi over 2 multiplied by 7 squared. And 7 squared is equals to 49. And now you only have to multiply this. 1/2 times pi over 2, that's equals to 4. And then times 49, that is equals to 49 pi over 4. That is your final answer. Any questions? Any questions regarding this? Any questions, clarifications? Actually, this is our end of our session na. This is the end na. Alright? So, a few reminders. Okay, no more questions. If you have questions, write them down. And if you don't, pag nahihiya kayong magtanong dito sa YouTube, you could message me at Discord. It's can #3773. Okay, so since 1/2, kasi, okay, look at this. Tignan natin to. So, 'di ba? Na-multiply na natin. Nalipat na natin si pi r squared, right? So, napunta siya dito sa right side. And then we canceled pi. So that would be equals to a theta r squared divided by 2. Actually, this is the same with this. Alright? Inano lang siya, dinisect lang siya sa equation. Pero it's the same thing. Okay? Gets ba? Nasagot ba yung tanong? Is it clear? Nasagot ko ba siya? Christian? Okay. Alright. Yes, part ng equation yung 1/2. That's already a given. Yung kailangan mo na lang i-substitute is the radius and the central angle. Alright? Gets ba? Any more questions? Okay. So it's 3:21 p.m. Mga 1 hour, 10 minutes. All right. So, a few reminders before we go. So, we guys, you should visit the Google Classroom if ever na nandun man kayo for the study materials and the worksheet. The study materials will be posted at around 3:50 p.m. while the worksheet will be um released ng 4 p.m. All right? So, the worksheet will be open until Monday, August 15 hanggang 11:59 p.m. So kayang-kayang ikram 'yan. And wag kayong mag-cram kahit nagka-cram ako. Okay. And then if you do have any questions, please message me on Discord at can hashtag 3773. And that is the end of our session. Thank you guys so much for learning with my, with my lectures. I'm really really happy kasi this is aligned with my dream job, and masaya lang ako. Thank you guys. Especially yung mga nag-participate and even the silent listeners there. Thank you so much. And that is the end of our session. Thank you so much guys for listening and coming in our lecture. And goodbye. See you next week. Thank you.